52664, Wyatt Allison, file 52514, and Connor Allison, file 52515.
All right, the court has before it a petition to modify the minor guardianship. May I have the names of our participants beginning in the courtroom?
Linda Schneider, I'm now guardian.
Get that name. Did you say that again?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Say your name again.
Linda Schneider.
Thank you. And your names?
Cindy Wingfield.
Would you spell that for us?
It's Wingfield.
Frank Wingfield.
What's your first name?
Frank.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, Ms. Stroud, would you like to introduce yourself?
Trout with DHS.
Okay, and from RGC, it says RGC backup hearings on your screen, sir. Would you give us your name?
Michael Allison.
Thank you. Welcome. All right, Deputy Ames, I'd like to start with Ms. Trout with her comments, if you could swear in.
Ms. Trout, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Trout, I have your report in front of me. Your comments for the record, please.
I do want to start out by apologizing that, oh, I'm sorry, there's a bad echo. Is that on my end?
I think it's just on your end. It's a little garbled at the outset of your sentences over here, but I can keep up with you.
Okay. I do want to apologize that I did not receive this investigation until Friday. I know it was sent to us on the 11th, so I did not have time to talk to everyone that I would like to or complete a home assessment. I did speak with Linda and Cindy. They both are in agreement that the children are in better care with Cindy and Franklin due to Linda's health, but she's still willing to help out on whether it's weekends or just kind of however she needs for almost like a respite care thing. Cindy reports that she is able to financially help the children. They currently are receiving Medicaid, food assistance, and SSI. And she would like to figure out how to get that switched over to her name if possible. And then we also discussed childcare assistance for the summertime. I did not have time to speak to the children themselves, but I do know the children have been staying with Cindy for a few months, and both Linda and Cindy reported that they enjoy spending time with Cindy and Franklin. The three boys share a room over there, and everything has been going well. I did speak with Max's father, Joshua, and he does have some concerns of not knowing exactly who Cindy and Franklin are, but said that he has spoke to Linda about it and she's kind of reassured him, but he would like to have more contact with Max, and he's actually willing to take all three boys if that is something that would like to be considered.
All right. Were you able to do the home investigation for Cindy and Frank?
I was not able to go to the home, but I did speak with Cindy about it. She does live in a 4-bedroom home. The three boys share a room with a 3-bedroom bunk. They have no shut-off notices, and they do have all the working utilities. Linda reported that Cindy's home is also clean, so there are no concerns there, but I myself was not able to go out.
Do you support the requested change in guardianship?
Because I don't have a full investigation, the department does not have a stance on the guardianship. I wasn't able to do enough of an investigation to have an opinion.
Were you able to look at any school records or any other community records for the children?
I did not look at the school records. I do know they are at Alexander. They were there prior to the children going with Linda, and they're going to continue to go to Alexander with Cindy. Excuse me. I did look at criminal history. There were no concerns with Cindy and Franklin. There was one with Jacob, which is Cindy's adult son in the home from 2022, regarding operating a vehicle with any BAC with children in the car. So that is a concern that if the guardianship is to be transferred over, I think safety planning needs to be done about that. None of the adults in the home are on central registry.
Would you continue to work with the family to do that safety planning if I made the change today, or would you prefer that I gave you some more time to do that before I made my decision?
I can do safety planning after you make your decision. That's fine.
All right, Deputy Ames, I'd like to hear from the rest of our participants. So if you could swear in Ms. Linda, Frank, Cindy, and I'm sorry, what was your name again? Is it Mark from online here?
It's Michael.
Mike, thank you.
You can remain seated, but raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth? Sir, can you raise your right hand? Thank you, sir. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And please give me a verbal answer.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Yes,
Sir, thank you.
yes.
Very good. All right, Miss Linda, let's start with you. Please tell me what's happening with your family and what changes you think need to happen and why.
Well, my husband died in November, Thanksgiving. And when we first were put in charge of guardianship, we always worked together. And when he passed, it just took a toll on all of us, actually.
Deputy Ames, would you move that microphone a little closer?
Certainly.
I'm trying to hear you. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
You don't have to worry about this.
Okay, that's the part.
That's why I asked
Sorry.
you to do it.
I'm not a court person, sorry. Yeah, and when he passed, it was really difficult for me to keep caring for the boys in a way that they needed. And as time went on, I had picked up papers from the probate to try to get somebody to help as far as guardianship. I was going to set up a family meeting with everyone and see what we could figure out. I didn't want them to be split up, but I knew I couldn't give them the care that they needed. And it doesn't matter how much you love people, your kids, your grandkids, there's specific things that they need that I couldn't give them. So I wanted the best for them. I had picked up paper and was gonna have a family meeting. I had an emergency surgery. My spleen ruptured. Wasn't planning on it. It was, you know, I didn't want to go to the hospital until I made sure I got a hold of family to take care of the boys. And they did. And when I came out of the hospital, everything had changed. And the boys were at Cindy's. She's watched them in the past. When my husband died in the hospital, 2 weeks, the boys were at her house. So the boys are real familiar with Cindy. They love Cindy, vice versa. They all love each other and they're happy. I have not seen them this happy since before their mom died. I mean, so I know this is the right thing, and it's more for medical and, you know, reasons, I guess. And I just want the best for them, you know. I want them to have a really good future. You know, Cindy and Frank have 2 kids they've raised. One's a school teacher, one's got his own business. I mean, you know what I mean? And they're younger than me by 20 years. You know? So, you know, but I have to look out for their future. And, you know, I'm not going to live forever. If something happens to me, I want somebody in place. And they are the closest to these boys in the family. Cindy's Nicole's sister, my daughter that was murdered. And I just think it would be the best thing. I really do.
Okay, Cindy, your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, Frank and I do very well. Sorry.
You're crying. I was afraid I wouldn't cry.
We do very well with the boys. The boys were very happy.
Well, talk to me a little bit about, practically speaking, what's changed for you and how you've made room for them, frankly, because there's 3, right?
Yes, there's
So,
3 boys.
It's a big change.
Yeah. We bought our house like 4 years ago, and for some reason we went to a bigger house, and I'm like, I feel like God has a plan.
God did have a plan.
And we had like 3 empty bedrooms because our children had moved out. It was just my husband and I for the longest time. My son came back, but we still had 2 empty bedrooms, so. I mean, it's been an adjustment for sure, you know, raising 3 young ones again after being empty nesters, but. It's working out fine. I mean, those boys, they're so responsible, like, they're just for 5, you know, 5, 7, and 10, like, they just shock me how smart they are. Like I said, it's been an adjustment for us, but it's working. I mean, it's getting better day by day. Like, you know, there's those boys have been through so much in their little life, you know.
Okay, they're gonna be able to stay in the same school, I understand.
Yes.
How are they doing in school?
They're doing great.
I know.
Wyatt, the middle child, he's brilliant.
Oh,
Like,
he's the middle boy.
Max is doing great. We just got him enrolled in Lego robotics class. So, and they all love school. Like, they get up every morning, no complaints. They're ready to go. I mean, they know the routine. I mean, they're excelling, all 3 of them. Connor just started kindergarten, so, and he's enjoying it. He loves it. So.
Any of them have any behaviors or any special needs that you'll have to take care of or are already taken care of?
Not really special needs. I mean, those kids have been through a lot. They've seen a lot, like probably more than any child in their life should see at their age. So like, I feel like, you know, I know they've been seeing a counselor at school. So, I mean, they do need some work. There's, you know, I'm sure they've got a lot of anger. I'm sure they've got a lot of trauma in their life. I mean, seeing their mom pass away, you know, right in front of them. I mean, it's heartbreaking for anybody. And then they became close with grandma and my dad, and then he passed away. And then grandma got sick, so
I know.
it's like they've had a
They were
lot,
scared to
you know.
death.
I just can't imagine what goes through their little minds, you know. But for the most part, they're doing okay. But you know, there's some, you know, I definitely believe like they need, you know, to continue counseling of some sort, you know, just to get them through everything that they've been through.
I appreciate that. That's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah.
So Ms. Trout shared with us a little bit about your adult son that lives with you.
Yes.
And maybe something that happened with him. Can you tell me a little bit about that, whatever you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, for sure. He moved out when he was 20, I believe. Yeah, he was 20 when he moved out. He moved out on his own. He had his own place and he was drinking and got pulled over. He had no children in the car with him. I mean, he doesn't have children of his own or anything. So, and he did his, you know, he paid his penalties and all that. But since then, he hasn't had anything come up on him like that. So.
I read that he has a pretty good relationship with the boys, it sounds like.
Yeah.
They love him so much.
Yeah, he built bases for them so they could play baseball in the front yard, like, and he'll play basketball with them. I mean, he really cares for those kids too, you know. I mean, of course they get on his nerves, but he's 22 and they're, I mean, just like, he'll go to the barn and work on his dirt bike or whatever, so. But for the most part, they do have a great relationship.
So are you there? I mean, the change that they're asking for is to make this a permanent situation for you and your family. Is that what are you ready for that?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we've been talking about it. We've expected it. I mean, yes, we're perfectly fine. I don't want to see those boys go to foster care and get split up. They've had enough trauma in their life. They don't need any more. So I feel like Frank and I are the most stable for them at this time, you know, and hopefully we can be there for them for as long as we're here.
So we've got Max's father too, Joshua now, who may need to have a relationship with his son in one way or another. Do you feel comfortable navigating that so that if he has contact with him that, you know, that's safe, but also that he has an interaction with him, if that's something.
I was just kind of curious, like, on that note, you know, it's been 8 years, no contact.
9 years. Been 9 years since Max's dad has contacted him.
Okay,
So-
all right, I am gonna have to tell you guys one at a time, because if Ms. Kudrow never has to make this transcript, she's gonna probably wanna strangle. So, let's go one at a time.
So that's kind of my concern. Being that they have had a lot of changes, and it's to deal with the changes already, and then to change another situation is gonna be a lot more on them. And please ask me, it's a lot. So the change, let's all think about through first before we make any more changes on the kids' part. Yeah,
We have a provider in the community, Miss Brene Moore, that has a parent reintroduction program. And so in a lot of foster care cases, for example, we'll ask her to talk with the child and to let us know if she thinks that the child is ready for a change like that. And if that's the case, then she can help spearhead that process so that it's safe for both child and parent, really, but mostly for the child, obviously, is what I'm concerned about. So would that be something you'd be willing to do if Max's father continues asking? Would we maybe involve Brene Moore to see if she'd be willing to have a look at the situation for you from a professional perspective?
is there gonna be background checks and everything done in that part as well?
That's what we're hopefully gonna be counting on Ms. Trout to bring to the table as well. Ms. Trout, I know you've kind of done some of that for everybody in Michigan, but I know you'd have to probably reach out to somebody in the state where Josh was living. Would you be able or willing to do that?
Actually, with guardianship investigations, after you make your decision, we don't continue working with the family, and I'm more than happy to like do the safety planning and all of that. But when it comes to coordinating with Alabama, and I believe that's where he's at, that would be kind of outside of my scope of things.
All right. So probably if there's a request for that formally, then you could really reopen the guardianship and ask for a review hearing on it for guidance on that point. That becomes something that you need some help with, I guess, moving forward. So in other words, if Joshua continues to ask or files an official request for parenting time, we can reopen the guardianship officially to look at whether or not parenting time is in the child's best interest, and then I can ask Ms. Trout again at that point to do those background checks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
You're always welcome to consult an attorney, on those questions as well, which is probably the better way to go than just our brief conversation about it here on the record.
So I just have a quick question, because she had said that Joshua had reached out to maybe having contact with all three boys. Like those the two youngest ones
Right,
don't know him. Like, why, what is the reason for that? He hasn't even had contact with his own son.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that bothers me. So,
So, and the two of you, if you become the full guardians, would have full control over who gets to see the child and when and where and how. So
okay,
you would be in charge of that, and all I would be looking for you to do is to act in their best interests.
yeah,
If he is a person that could be, another support in their lives, then I would ask you to be open-minded about it. But
right.
if there's signals that indicate that that may be unsafe for them, whether that's from a counselor or otherwise, then I would ask you to investigate that on your own, or maybe even ask CPS to help you investigate that if you needed to.
Okay,
Does that help?
yeah.
Ms. Trout, you look like you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, when I spoke with Joshua about Max, and then he brought up the other two boys, his intention is not to split Max from his brothers. And he said if it's necessary, like if Max was to come with him, he would also be willing to take the other two to avoid splitting the brothers up.
Well, Ms. Trout, I think the reservations here are that this person hasn't been part of their lives, any of them. So, and given their history and the amount of changes that they've already had to live through, before I would allow them to be reintroduced to him, or Max even to be reintroduced to him, I would want the opinion of a professional counselor, as we do in many other cases when we have these kind of situations.
I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
All right.
absolutely, there's, oh,
Yes, I was about to come to you. Marcus, right?
Michael.
Darn it. I'm really sorry about that. All right, Michael, what are your thoughts about the change, and about everything else that you've been hearing here this morning?
To reiterate on the subject of what happened the day of this tragic incident, the boys did not see anything that happened, nothing happening in front of them. I understand that it's not even, it's a point that yeah, they lost their mother, but it was not right directly in front of them. So I wouldn't like suggest counselors to push any of them kind of issues. You know, like, did you see it or anything like that? It is a big change. Linda and Rob have always been really good in their lives. And now Cindy and Frank, we actually haven't seen them since our wedding day or our reception. They're real nice people. Sounds like the boys love them very much. And yes, they are. They're very smart boys, very smart. They love their homework.
Sir, when is your soonest possible date for parole or for consideration for parole?
2042.
All right, so from your position, if you could direct anything as far as what would happen to them while you're incarcerated, would you have any reason to object to Cindy and Frank and taking over those responsibilities?
No, I believe they're a loving family, and with as Cindy still works at the college there, then they'd be able to and you know, having children that are teachers as well, then boys would excel. Absolutely. The only request that I would ever have is if there was a way for eventually us to have communication. I know the boys are going to have questions. I know there is a lot of anger, hate, if that's, you know, so I would definitely like to contact them at some point in this incarceration. Whether it's just for closure for them, or if there is a sense of a relationship in the future.
Oh, well, so how I would handle that, how we normally handle a situation like that is through a professional or a counselor. And it generally starts with letter writing. So if that's something you're interested in doing, I would ask the Wingfields to hold those and to consult with any counselor about whether or not, how and when to introduce those to any of the children to see if in fact that could be something that would support them.
I had previously wrote letters to the boys through to Linda and Rob. I don't know if they've ever got them, anything like that. But I have Judge Anzalone had said that I wasn't allowed to contact the family, but that like completely annuls the fact that the boys are there, that I wouldn't be able to even contact them. And the thing with Mr. Lewis there, Joshua, he was not in Max's life. There was quite a few times that I had called to actually try to get him to talk to his son. Nicole never didn't want to, she didn't force a relationship, and she didn't like step out to see about Joshua having a relationship. I'm not sure if he's even seen pictures of his dad. And that was one thing that, I mean, I had issues with my children trying to see them and stuff, and And I know what that's like. So.
All right,
Seeing
well, I
my
appreciate.
Seeing my children go down there, seeing my children go down to Alabama with him after, not knowing him or what says, is there an ulterior motive to that?
Well, my jurisdiction ends at the state
This
line,
was-
so
Yeah, I
I wouldn't be
understand.
authorizing them to
I
visit
understand.
unless it was something that the guardians decided that they wanted to explore.
Yeah, and absolutely, I am definitely, for Cindy and Frank to take care of the boys.
All right, thank you. Well, the court finds notice of hearing was given to all interested parties. The petition to modify the guardianship is appropriate, necessary, and the modification does serve the interests of all three children for many of the reasons that were expressed today. Ms. Schneider's been through some of her own health challenges and the loss of her husband. The whole family has lost him as a patriarch, and I am sorry for your loss, all of you on that point. It certainly does engineer the need for change for all three boys, and I think that Ms. Cindy and Mr. Frank Wingfield are certainly the people in their lives that they're familiar with, that are able to step into that role. I have no concerns based on the background checks that I've reviewed, as well as the testimony that I've heard. And so it will be the order of the court that they will be the new successor full guardians of all three children. And Ms. Linda Schneider will be permitted to resign from that role, but of course not permitted to resign from role of grandma. I know she intends to
I know.
continue to enjoy that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that. Any contact from either of the remaining parents in this case should be funneled through the professional counselors for the boys. So I'll offer that guidance to you by way of the court order, as well as here today from me directly. And you're welcome to explore that. If you do receive some contact, then I would ask you to immediately seek out a counselor to ask for their input on how to proceed with that. That person would hopefully want to meet with the child or children first in order to get a feel for that situation and to help advise you on what may serve their interests moving forward. All right, so I'm appointing both of you as full successor guardians for all three children. You have my guidance on visitation. Thank you for this, for stepping up for the boys. And unless there's any questions, that's all for today.
Thank you, Cindy and Frank. Thank you for taking care of them boys.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's all for today.
Okay.
I'll have these orders across the hall.